Alright, hello everybody on the YouTube channel. It is I, TitanOnFire, once again here to bring you an awesome replay from the PiG Fest tournament, which of course was it was pretty much an entire festival of StarCraft hosted by the one and only PiG, as in the bottom right hand corner of Berlingrad from Clash. It's Reynor. Yeah, this was an event put on by PiG, of course casted all of the games by PiG and Maynard. It was a really, really awesome thing to just kind of watch, especially as a spectator. And you got to see a ton of great matches, as in the top left, we are, of course, going to have the young Frenchman himself. Oh. Wait for that zoom in. Yeah, there we go. In position. There we go, it's Clem. Liquid's Clem. And him and Reynor having a bit of banter at the beginning. Of course, I don't entirely know what that's about. I assume that was an on-stream moment. But of course, talking about Dream, the Korean Terran player, who recently actually has made it into TSL 8, got into the round of 32 for TSL, made it into the round of 16. I don't want to spoil too much about that, but a really, really exciting match there. It did end up going down. And yeah, Reynor versus Clem. What a doozy. What a doozy of a match to start off with. Of course, it's going to be a best of 5, as this is not towards the grand finals or the semifinals. This is, in fact, the quarterfinals. But still, nonetheless, Reynor versus Clem. It's two players who have faced obviously a ton on the ladder in, of course, the Europe ESL Cups, even in larger international tournaments. They have faced off against each other quite often, and it's become quite the matchup, honestly, between these two. They are both just. I would say that this is probably, for both of them, their best matchup is ZVT. Clem, his ZVT has at periods been godlike, and even when it's not, has still looked very, very good. And so, you know, it's always hard to count Clem out of a TVZ. And then, of course, Reynor, his ZVT for a while was, I mean, on par with that of Maru's, of course, or was able to take, you know, a series off Maru, was able to, and his ZVZ especially, was able to take series off Cyril. I would say that right now, Reynor is not in his tip-top form, of course, having recently moved and all of that, but it's still showing some really great results after getting set up, I believe in London, and has been putting out some good games. Ooh, that Zergling doesn't get caught. Clem only gets the one Zergling kill, which is pretty, I mean, it does require a bit of micro there from the Terran in order to get that first Zergling with the Reaper. Even grabs the second, sneaks on in. It's a very nice harass from Clem so far at the start of this game. And as we do get the third base, of course, finishing up here for Reynor, looking at the build for Clem, looking at how this game is going to progress. It's not surprising that game 1, Berlingrad, you do see a bit more of a macro-centric focus here for both these players. As Clem already did have that third CC down, went with the single gas after the factory. This just means that you're going to be going straight up into double Hellion production. You're not really going to be getting too many more add-ons onto your buildings. You can get a Banshee, as we see coming down. It's not going to have Cloak. This Banshee will just be to poke around to try and get some worker kills, but it's never going to really backstab in and find, you know, critical damage. As actually, we do have the Cloak. Never mind. I'm wrong. Clem does cut the add-on on the barracks, and is instead just going to be full on producing a Banshees with Cloak off this one gas, which might catch Reynor a bit by surprise. We'll have to see. No Spore Crawlers down just yet in either of the bases, waiting till about that 430 mark, or 420 to see them go down. Is when we should see them added on. And, I mean, Reynor does, of course, scout with that Overlord that it is going to be, in fact, Banshees with Cloak. The first Banshee out, second one going to be in production, and the Cloak continuing. So Clem not going to cancel it, and Reynor still not seeing those Spore Crawlers up just yet. Finally does put them down here, right around 445. Should give him ample of build time, just because when you are going with the single gas opener, the Cloak Banshee will not be hitting as quickly as with double gas. since you are prioritizing your third CC over that starport. And you do see Stim also start up for Clem, so of course it will be Bio as the follow-up with 2 engineering bays. Reynor, so far been doing a good job of really just pushing back these Hellions. Clem has gone up to a pretty sizable number, sitting right now at, I believe, 8 or so. Does get 1 picked off, but now you have the Cloak Banshee poking on in with this, and makes it a bit more difficult for Reynor to really maneuver, especially without a layer just yet. Reynor doesn't, aside from the Spore Crawlers, doesn't have much to get vision here on this Banshee, so it's going to get free poke damage on these Queens. The Sister is coming to join on up, and this is actually a bit awkward for Reynor to deal with. Now, should not cause game-ending damage, but definitely going to be annoying. A few Queens might go down as you see the Hellions poking on in. Transfuses go down, but it doesn't quite matter because the Banshee DPS is very, very high. There we go, focusing the high-energy Queen. More Transfuses going down, and Clem, I mean, it's some good harass. Can now actually swing this into the mineral line as he retreats with the Hellions. Oh, another Queen's gonna go down. Very, very nice there from Clem. Does have to get on out. Those Banshees are all very low on health and does not want to run them into that group of Queens. Don't have blow. There we go. Focus fire onto the Banshee. Cancel even on the base at the same time. Oh, Queen's gonna go down though to the Hellions. Clem's just being so aggressive with this pressure. Just non-stop trying to get some damage done. Very, very solid. I mean, look at that. 4 Queens go down, 4 drones. Sure, you lose a Banshee and 4 Hellions, but that's absolutely worthwhile. It's so much energy that Reynor has to replenish over time. It's, you know, Queens that he has to rebuild. That's already 450 minerals being sunk into Queens when it could just be additional drones, additional units. The lucky, I mean, the real saving grace here for Reynor is, of course, right now he is just sticking on pure Ling Bane. So there's not much that you need as in terms of gas investments. So he's going to have a lot of minerals to replenish these Queens. He's going to be able to get up a healthy Zergling count. But now you have the push coming through from Clem. It's 1-1. Does have Stim. No combat shields with these Marines, so they are a bit weaker than you would probably like if Banelings were out. But there are no Banelings on the map so far for Reynor. Clem just continuing to push it down. Now Lings are going to try and storm on through. Should be able to get a surround against the Marines. And, well, don't need Banelings if you have the Lings surround. But still, Clem, I mean, taking just very, very good trades here at the start of game 1. Already has his +2 started. No +2 armor. Does not quite have the gas for that because he is getting Drilling Claws, has added on the second factory with the Siege Tank production, so just naturally you are going to be a bit starved for gas if you're also trying to get out Medivacs at the same time. This triple drop should be scouted by the creep. I don't see a world where Clem can sneak this one on in, but will be just trying to poke around. Still has that Banshee alive, can of course be used to defend against Baneling run-bys. As Stim on in, Queens are here, Banelings and Lings gonna force the pick on up. Of course, Clem gonna try and swing this into the main. Spore Crawler's already in position. Reynor, I mean, has been doing a very, very good job of defending so far in this game. The one issue for the Zerg, of course, is that, well, you've been defending. You've taken a bit of damage, but it's not been too much. The worry is the Terran has been completely undisturbed across the map. And so Clem, you know, behind all this, has gone up very, very comfortably into his 2 factory, is still being able to poke here. Queens are going to go down. Clem just picks on up. But Clem's getting up his 3rd base, already has Liberator production even started. Now, those Liberators can be used for harassment. You do see some Terrans that send their first 2 Liberators out to actually harass across the map while they are microing this one little group of units. But Clem is going to move out on the map with another force. Look at this creep spread, which is pretty monstrous from Reynor. Now, Berlingrad is a small map, so it is very, very easy to get creep across the center. Even with that, though, Reynor has been just on top of it while also defending. But you're going to be getting up to 8 barracks here for Clem. And it's really going to be, I mean, looking for the next big timing, which will, of course, be 8 racks, 2-2, maxed out, pushing across the map, because Clem has been doing a great job of keeping his units alive. And honestly, this timing should hit before you have Lurkers out. It's only just Hydras for Reynor. It's Lingbane Hydra. It's not going to trade the best against the Bio if Clem micros it well, and that's actually some great micro to start off this fight. Immediately Focus fires down onto the Banelings. Medevac's flying over, but the pickup doesn't go through. Finally, we'll be picking up his units. More Banelings going to go down to the Focus fire. 2-2 isn't done just yet, but I don't think it matters. Liberators go down. But Clem is able to push it back, just scouting out with a few Marines, trying to divide Reynor's attention. Doing the most he can with a small group of bio, getting a bit weak. Medevacs were not in healing range of the frontmost Marines. Widowmine will go down. But 2-2 is done. Clem is at 2-2. Is approaching that maxed out state. Does get caught here, and that's a bit pricey. That's 3 medevacs, a lot of Marines that end up going down. But Clem is still trying to push this, knows that he has a lot of leverage right now, at least, while lurkers are not out quite yet. And he's going to use that to try and clear up creep to get up his additional command centers and to really start. Ooh, great Widowmine drag. And really trying to start to get his economy into position. Now we do see that's just a straight up kill on the hatchery, and that's a bit expensive here for Reynor. Is of course sitting on an 85 worker economy, but even then, you want to try and keep as many of these bases, alive or canceled as you can. 3 drones do go down to a Widowmine drop there at the 4th base of Reynor. Clem, 3-3 started. 5th base is on location. It's continued Widowmine production. I would like to see the tanks getting added back in here fairly soon, just because you know that lurkers are going to be coming out. You've seen the Hydra Tech, and you should know around the 10-11 minute mark is when these lurkers are really going to be hitting Widowmines. Starting off with actually some really good hits, and the tank on the high ground is going to push Reynor back. Clem's reached max out. Clem's on 5 bases, 82 workers, 200 out, 200 supply. Reynor's still kinda, I think, waiting for the lurkers. Hasn't started on the upgrades though. You're looking, I mean, really for the adaptive talons, the seismic spines, neither of those started up. So even if the lurkers do come out right now, they're not gonna be as efficient. And you see Reynor instead just getting into 22 more lings. Wants to try and work with this Ling Bane for a little bit longer, knows that he has map control with it. And that's the big thing about Zergling Baneling. And, with the Hydralisk, you're able to get a lot more map presence, and you're able to rotate a lot quicker than you are with the lurkers. The lurkers are stationary. They need to burrow, and so the Terran can start to try and run circles around you, as these Widowmine hits actually have been really, really good. One there on the left side, the bottom ramp down from the 5th, and that one right there. Get some great connections, and Clem right now is actually sitting at a bit of a higher bank. 3 lurkers are on the way with Vipers. Finally, Seismic Spines has started up. Does just feel like it's a bit late though. Clem already has ghosts on the way. Clem can very easily start producing more tanks as Reynor's trying to commit on into this. The Widowmine at the back does not go off. And the single medevac is actually out of energy. So all this bio, every time it stims, that will be it. Reynor gonna be able to catch, another flank here. Some massive hits. Clem not expecting this army to be pushing out. There we go, burrows go on down. You see, without that extra range, the lurkers, it's really easy for Marauders to get on top of them. That +1 range makes it much better for the lurkers to fight into the bio, because there's that much more space that the Marines and Marauders have to move into while the lurkers are firing at them. As Reynor trying to commit on in. Oh my god, these Widowmine hits. So brutal. As this whole army is rotating down for Reynor. This might be a bit hard, honestly, for Clem to hold if he doesn't have his whole army here. There's no scan going down onto those lurkers. Ghosts are going to start falling. The base, 11 workers go down. Reynor just pulls the trigger on the base, says, I think you're out of position, is absolutely right. Not enough ghosts out for Clem just yet. Did not have his army in position, and still no tanks being added on. It is just the Widowmines, which of course are very, very nice for dealing with the Ling Bane. And that's really their main, their main use right now is to keep the Ling Bane off of the ghosts and off of the bio. But even with that, just straight bio and ghosts into lurkers, it can be a bit sketchy. If you're not microing it perfectly, it can get very, very scary. And of course, Clem's micro is extremely good. But even with that, you gotta worry a little bit. More command centers going down, 3 being built at a time now, as this small group of bio is just going to get absolutely sliced and diced by a few lurkers. They're just hanging out by these bases. Not much you can do. Another attack here on the right side base. Reynor trying to go in and did take a very, very large Widowmine hit. Now the Ghost is trying to kite this back. More bio's gonna come forward. The planetary is up. Cancels go down onto the CCs. One was killed though. But Reynor's gonna back on out. Doesn't really feel like he has a place to really push this position, but Reynor's now exploding onto the map. I mean, looking at it, you're already going to be looking at 7 bases as soon as that top right goes up. You're seeing now the lurker harassment is getting to almost an unmanageable point for the Terran when you have to just start using scans on singular lurkers because you don't have, you know, tanks and missile turrets, and now the base is going to go down while the whole army is pulled elsewhere. Reynor is just pulling Clem apart so far in this late game, and now you see the supplies dropping. There's no scan for these lurkers because they've all been used. Reynor, this late game looking absolutely terrific. These lurkers are just so annoying to deal with for the Terran. Clem is just stuck in his base right now. I mean, sure, he has 3-3 bio. Sure, he has, I mean, right now, sitting at 20 ghosts, but that's his army. That's his army. Is 20 ghosts and 15 Widow Mines. There's 8 Marines, but the 8 Marines are inconsequential at this point to really doing anything. They're more there as a buffer, and now Reynor sees that the army's moved up to the top right. All right, well, I'm going down to this 9 o'clock base. There's nothing that Clem can do to counteract the movement of this Zerg army. Banelings are just going to roll on through. Ghosts are going to go down. And sure, Reynor's supply drops as he loses a lot of Banelings, but the base goes down. More workers fall for Clem. And you still have lurker harassment going in on the top right in that 12 o'clock. This is just... I mean, if you ever want to know how to handle late game Terran, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. Reynor, just a beautiful showcase in this game. And what you need to do, stay on the Ling Bane, use it for map control while you're getting up a healthy lurker count, and then move out. Then start playing around where the army is. As long as, I mean, as long as your lurkers aren't engaging into ghosts, as long as they're not, you know, directly fighting ghosts, they're just going to trade better. They're going to be more useful. Because Clem is having to move these ghosts reactionarily because of the Ling Bane, because of how mobile this army is. It's just a really hard position for the Terran. Snipes do finally start to go down, and it's reaching a bit of a scary ghost count. It has been dropped from the 21, did lose a few during the Baneling run by, so only sitting at 17 to the 10 lurkers. And, I mean, Clem's going to try and push this. He has a large army, but it's all in Widow Mines and Ghosts. It is all in Widow Mine and Ghosts, and Widow Mines, they're good. You know, they deal with Ling Bane, but they do friendly fire damage, and, you know, they're not the unit that you can just turtle up with like the tanks are, as Reynor's just rolling on through. There's really nothing left here for the Terran. You're going to pick up the Ghosts, but that's about it. Widow Mines might get some good connections, but it doesn't really matter. Clem is on essentially half a base at this point, and Reynor has the entire map to himself. Pew pew snipes go down. And the Clem's army, unfortunately, has just taken some massive damage. It's really hard to see a world where Clem comes back into this as you're looking at them. Oh, the income tab. Yeah, that's a bit rough. That's a bit rough. It is very much so in favor of the Zerg at this point. About 3k minerals to 400. It's not even actually half a base. It's not even a base. Clem has finally managed to establish this 12 o'clock, but I just think it's so late. I mean, Reynor has controlled the map for so long. Clem tried to get up into the Ghost. He tried to get up into this army that counters the Zerg. The issue was, excuse me as the camera flashes around, the issue is you just don't really have the late game units that you need. Sure, you have Ghosts, sure you have Widow Mines. Those are great at dealing with the Ling Bane, but you don't have any entrenched position to turtle up on. And GG's going to be called. Reynor's going to take game 1. All right, and we're on to Hardwire for game number 2. Bit of a larger map, one that we've definitely seen Terrans, I'd say, have a bit more success on than their Zerg counterparts. With that being said, in the bottom left, from Clash, it is Reynor. Oh, no dramatic zoom in. Feels bad, man. Maybe we'll get it eventually, but I mean, without that being said anyway, such a solid game from Reynor. I mean, Clem, it felt like he actually got quite a bit of damage done early. You know, killing queens, all of that is so useful. There we go, there's the zoom in on Reynor. Ooh, does that Overlord see? Oh, it does. That's massive. Clem tries to go for the proxy racks, but it is scouted. Is going to place another proxy racks a bit farther away. So maybe he's trying to trick Reynor here. He's saying, Reynor, it's just a single proxy racks. This obviously means that I'm just going to proxy a Reaper. But no. No. Clem has a second barracks. And you never, I mean, who expects a second barracks to be proxied in TVZ? That never happens. As Reynor throws out the GLHF, we're going to see that Reaper in production. It's not going to be, excuse me, it's not going to be the double proxy Marine. It is just going to be 2 Reapers coming from barracks, and it might be enough to catch Clem off guard, or to catch Reynor off guard. Clem has actually done a good job of hiding the second barracks. And so as far as Reynor knows, this is just 1 Reaper. You don't need to pull drones for this bunker. You know, it's really not going to be that big of a deal because you're going to be having enough lings out in time to deal with it. But second worker, what does that mean, Reynor? This is a bit troublesome. Not pulling anything immediately does build a spine crawler in the high ground. This is the correct response. When it's going to be Reapers, of course, the DPS is much lower than that of the Marine. The Reaper does do good damage to single targets, but the Marine, the DPS, the fire rate, all of it together just makes it a much better unit, and especially at dealing with buildings and, you know, dealing with these lings outside of the micro ability of the Reapers. Here we go. More lings are in production. Clem, the double proxy Reaper, the hidden double proxy Reaper, already getting quite a few ling kills. I imagine you just go down here to the natural, get some damage onto that hatchery, and try and force a response, at least out of Clem, to hold the low ground. Clem is going to try and dive on in, but the queens are here. And the Reapers just staying out of the bunker for as long as they can, because as soon as the Reapers do go in the bunker, you lose that micro ability. You lose that ability to kite, as Clem is doing. And it makes it, and it just allows Reynor to then collapse on the position, get a surround on the bunker with the lings, bring the queens forward. So as long as his Reapers can stay out of the bunker, and for as long as they can just continue to harass, it's not the worst for Clem. But he hasn't gotten the damage that he needs, because right now you still have Reynor building lings, getting up, you know, has metabolic boost on the way, and Reynor has not pulled out of Reaper production. Reynor is still producing Reapers. He hasn't floated those barracks back across the map. And that means that really once you just have a large group of Reapers, unless you're beyond in like 2014 with Reapers into speedlings, it's not the best fight to take. The micro ability just is not there anymore. So we are just going to see continued Reaper production. There's actually an insane amount of Reapers. We're up to 7. 1 more on the way, 2 more on the way. We're going to be going up to 9 Reapers. Who builds 9 Reapers? Clem does with his proxy double racks. He's just saying, listen, I don't want to float these barracks back across the map. I don't want to do that. That's wasted time when I could be building Reapers. And you know what? He's right. Hellions on the way. This is going to be the weirdest timing here from Clem, where he is going for Reaper Hellion, except it's the Reapers that are en masse. It is the Reapers, but there are going to be Hellions coming to support. A medevac is on the way. This is really old school. This is a really old school follow-up to not getting damage done with that 2 Rocks Reaper. Oh no, Clem! Left the door open. That is disastrous. Does have Hellions popping out. They should be able to fight this, but you're already going to lose quite a few SCVs. Oh, that just hurts so bad. I mean, Reynor stuck those lings all the way across the map, and now behind this, there's Reapers, or there's Roaches on the way. And the Reaper Hellion is great against Lingbane. This, again, old school style, this old school follow-up to the double proxy Reaper. It works against Lings. It does not work against 7 Roaches, as Clem's gonna try and go on to the main with this. I don't see this working. I am very sorry, Clem. But he's just gonna have to get on out. Lings are still in his natural. And this is just going from bad to worse, man. Proxy Reapers did not get the damage done. that you really want with that much of an investment has now lost. I mean, 11 workers. He's lost 11 workers. Got 1 drone kill. Reynor's just going to take a third base. Clem is, of course, going to be going into, 2 racks and Marines. Trying to, I imagine, get stim and combat shields at the same time with double tech labs going down. Actually, no, sorry. Tech lab on the factory. But, I mean, these little counterattacks are just going to do so much damage. Even with Hellions here, they're just enough Zerglings. Reynor is just being so smart here with these counterattacks. Says, I don't need my whole army over there. I have Roaches. Now, the Roaches are actually going to take a fair bit of damage here from these Reapers. Hey, man, they got, they do decent damage. They're not the best, but they do damage, and they are going to be able to force a lot of these Roaches to get quite low on health, and makes it a bit scary here for this hold for Clem, but look at that transfusion energy available on those Queens. Focus fire onto one of the Roaches, immediate transfuse goes down. Reapers are going to start to fall. The healing coming through from the medevac, the single target focus fire. Ooh, no! He kills the third? That last second focus fire. What's that? What? That should not have gone down. It felt like Reynor had that hold. Well, you can see the immediate follow-up for Reynor. Replacing the third base, going immediately into the Spire. Realize, listen, even with losing that third, I am so far ahead right now. I am leagues ahead. This is Journey to the Center of the Earth levels, as if the Raider is the guy in the drill that has gone all the way down to the center, and that's like being ahead in the journey, and Clem is still like trying to build a machine to get him into the center of the Earth. Reynor's down there, he's chilling with all of the weird creatures, like maybe some dinosaurs and stuff that live down there in a weird alternate reality, and Clem's just like hammering away in a forge, trying to catch back up. Reynor's really far ahead. Even losing that hatchery, he lost like hull integrity to his drill. Doesn't matter. He's still so far ahead right now. Again, double proxy Reaper, it's a much larger investment than double proxy Marine, double racks Marine, because you're also investing gas. So your mineral income is less. You're not going to have as quick of a CC as a follow-up. And Clem did not get worker damage with it. He only got Zergling kills, which are absolutely fine for Reynor. And then he went for the Reaper Hellion follow-up, and that got nothing done. While losing workers back at home, this is just, with 7 Mutalisks on the way, I really don't know if there is a way for Clem to realistically get back into this game. Now, there we go, 3 Reapers, 4 Reapers go on into the main base, and they actually just got more damage done than Clem did with his entire opening. Which just goes to show how well defended it was from Reynor, and how little damage it ended up doing. And now, Clem's going into Bio Tank against Lingbane Muta. This tank production, it would have been great, last game, and of course he's doing it because he saw the Roaches, and he's like, oh, well, Reynor's going for Roaches. But no, Reynor got those Roaches as a defense. Reynor did not commit to the Roaches. He's going for Lingbane Muta because he knows that comp is just much better. It's hard to end the game with Roaches. It's possible. You can just run over the Terran, but if they just have a ton of tanks up, and Reynor was delayed in his Roach production and his economy, so it's a lot easier for him to just go straight on into these Mutalisks. Now, there's no missile turrets in the main base. Workers are just going to start to go down, and this is where the damage is going to start to spiral. It's going to snowball. Singular Marines are starting to fall here as focus fire onto individual SCVs. Doesn't get the damage quite done yet, but natural base mineral line is now exposed. Missile turret is not going to go up just yet. Another SCV is going to need to be pulled onto that. The third base will be protected, but look at the supply. It's 30 supply in the lead. 11 more workers go down. None of the Mutalisks go down. Oh. They're still all alive! Okay, 1 dies. 1 Mutalisk. It's 27. 20. Clem almost has 1k more minerals lost. This is an absolutely brutal game, too. Oh my, sure, Clem's up to 3 bases. Reynor is already on 4, can start a 5th. This is just going to be a massive attack by Reynor. Look at the upgrades coming through. Flyer attacks 1, +1/+1 for his Lingbane. Centrifugal hooks. You know that Reynor's gonna look for some game-ending damage here. And he's even clearing up tanks. The bio is just not in position. And losing these tanks, I mean, that was your defense for Clem. He decided, I want to go tanks. I'm gonna get tanks because I think it's Roach. No Widow Mines. And now they're all dead. There's like 1 or 2 tanks left. And now, once again, dive back on into the base. Kill off a tech lab. This is just... yeah. The observer's pointing it out. +2/+2 is on the way for Reynor. Clem has 1-1. The mutas just dive into some Marines because they really don't care. And will manage to get away almost scot-free. Reynor's 60 supply head. Yeah, GG. What a stomp. It's 2K atmospheres. Who would have thunk we'd get a 2K atmospheres game? No way. Top right, ladies and gentlemen. He's absolutely crushing it. Oh, ooh, there we go. It's Reynor. I'm getting jebaited by the observer, man. I'm getting jebaited. I think I know when he's gonna zoom in. Oh, it's Clem. And Clem, well, that last game, that's a frustrating one. That's a frustrating one. Is you're trying to be proactive, you're trying to be cheeky, and Reynor just says no, slams the door in your face, you know, catches your foot in the door and still closes it. You now have to like get foot surgery, like everything's just going bad. Your girlfriend left you, you're now in the hospital, you have a hospital bill to pay. That's what that last game was. And then it's like you manage to pay off the hospital bill, but you have to go into debt, and then you gotta go bankrupt. That's what that game 2 was. It was so rough for Clem, and Reynor honestly handled it, I mean, I would say almost seamlessly. He lost like 4 workers to 4 Reapers that were just kind of walked up into the main about 6 minutes into the game. That was just about the only significant damage that Reynor took, aside from forgetting... excuse me. That was very disgusting. Aside from forgetting to cancel his hatchery. That was it. And the crazy part is, even though the hatchery was killed, it did not matter. It did not matter in the long run, because Reynor was just that far ahead. He did not care. He took it in stride. He said, "Oh no, my hatchery died," and then he went on his day. It's like that. You know, you guys know the meme. You know, the Jeremy Clarkson meme where he's like, "Oh no." Anyways, that's what that was. Like that's exactly what that was. And yeah, I mean, just led to a very one-sided game. Now we're on to 2K atmospheres, though. This is a map that Clem should be much more familiar with. The drone. The drone. Oh, it saved itself. Clem, you misstepped. Reynor has won this bout of wits, and he's gonna get the hatchery up. Oh, that's it. That's it. He's too handsome. The Italian man is too handsome. But Reynor with some very good macro there with the extractor tricks to make sure that his drone doesn't die. As soon as Clem pushes away and he recognizes that the Reaper is pushing the front, of course, then does morph the hatchery. You do have Clem now going for a 3rd CC immediately before the 2nd gas. Again, just standard, really standard macro play here from Clem. No real switch up, and that's probably what you should expect on 2000 Atmospheres, because again, it's the map that he's probably the most comfortable with, that all these players have played the most games on. Is ooh, the Reaper. Okay. Good Spore Crawler morph. And for those of you wondering why pros morph the Spore Crawler instead of any other building or the Extractor, is because they both cost 75 minerals. They're the cheapest building that Zerg can build, and so you're not really losing all too much. You're losing 20 minerals or so when you cancel it. And in the long run, in the first 3-4 minutes of the game, 20 minerals is nothing compared to the cost of a drone. So it's absolutely worth it to do that if you are in the risk of losing a drone, especially to just a Reaper. That is interesting. Clem, in his last game with the single gas opening, did show the cloaked banshee as a follow-up, and actually in this game, ooh, I think that switch off might have been a bit quick. But it's actually faking the cloak. Went for the Viking because that's the only unit he was able to produce alongside the cloak to try and make Reynor think, oh no, I'm going cloak banshees. Get your queens up, get your spore crawlers up. You know, stay back. Don't push across the map. And so far, I think that has done it as he just immediately transitions into the Raven. Now, when I say I think he did it a bit quick, the vision of the Overlord does stay around for just like half a second longer after it dies. And sometimes you can see something like that happening, like a cancel or something. But I think it was not that immediate. It's usually right after it dies that you can see for a second more. But you have Sim on the way for Clem, 2 additional racks. Third CC will be floating out onto location as Clem is already sitting at a very, very healthy 43 workers on 2 bases, which is going to allow him to get up his additional gas alongside the engineering bays. And this is about as standard of a game as standard can get from Clem and Reynor. You know, kind of a throwback to game 1, where it was the same thing. Clem, almost the exact same opening. Of course, the Raven was a stylistic choice for this game, and it's going to allow him to actually clear up creep a lot better. And in that game 1, one of the big issues, alongside just Reynor having map control, was the creep. You know, Clem wasn't really pushing back the creep spread, especially in the middle of the map. So when it came to Reynor getting up a very large ball of Ling Bane with his upgrades and getting into lurkers, it was really hard for Clem to push out onto the map because Reynor had so much vision and he had so much maneuverability to move around with those creep tumors. Now, this is a bit of an opening. The queens are out of position. There's only a single queen back here at the natural. Ooh, Clem? I really feel like he could have committed on in. The queen is going to go down. I feel like he can go for the mineral line here. And there we go. Now Clem's going to pull the trigger. So many Hellions going to try and roast and toast. There we go. The Raven goes down. Oh, the Lings are into the natural, though, at the same time. I don't know, though. Marines are out. I don't think Reynor's going to get as much damage as is being done to him. 15 drones have been barbecued so far. 24, 26 go down with that shot of the flames. Yeehaw! It's a good old American barbecue here out in the west. As Clem defends at home, only loses 3 workers, and still has his Hellions being an absolute nuisance. Fried Zergling tastes like good old cooked chicken. And Reynor has taken an incredible amount of damage. All because the queens were out of position. And Clem commits on in. Gets so much damage done. Now you're going to be having a tank push here from Clem. He does have 1-1 finishing up. Of course, you don't want to really stim on into the creep until you have that 1-1, you know, almost done. There we go. The timing extremely solid by Clem. Right at 720, should have his 1-1 finishing up. And actually really a beautiful timing here from Clem. 1-1 isn't done yet for the Zerg. Will finally finish up now, but what money is there? What units are there for the Zerg? I mean, I can give you the answer there. Not a lot. It's 10 Zerglings, 11 Queens. That's what Reynor has to defend, and that's going to be it for a while. 8 more Zerglings are on the way, but Reynor has had to put so much money into rebuilding drones that you really aren't going to have anything to help this defense, and the Marines are going to continue to try and stim, and of course you have the transfuse energy on the Queens. Does just make this really hard to commit on in. The Queens, they're just tanky, man. They got a lot of HP. They got a lot of health points. Of course, Transfusion does have the immediate heal alongside the overtime heal. Makes it just an extremely, extremely valuable spell. I'd call it, actually, I think, the most useful spell in the game. Aside from maybe Psionic Storm, has more just straight value. But we are going to see a Baneling run by here by Reynor. Clem already on top of it. Just Clem this game. This is what I expected from game 1. Clem is just being absolutely on top of it. He's not giving up pressure. He commits in with the Hellions. He doesn't just focus on the Queens. And it's a lot easier, of course, with 2,000 Atmospheres than Berlingrad, where Berlingrad has 1 central point to dive on into the natural, whereas 2,000 Atmospheres has 3 places that you can dive into the 3rd and natural. And now Queens are going to start to go down. Banelings are finally on the way for Reynor with centrifugal hooks. But look at the rest of the units coming through for Clem. 2 more tanks, more Marines. Clem realizes he has a timing here. Clem realizes he has an opportunity and he can just split off a group of units. That 4th base is going to go down. There is no question about it. I mean, Reynor's going to try and dive on in here to save what he can, to try and trade what he can. But look at just how much bio there is. The split's going back. Clem the micro. Absolutely impeccable. Reynor's supply is dropping. The pickup's now going to go down to those Marines that were isolated on the left side. But now there's so many banelings, it's going to be hard to push it. This tank position is absolutely brutal. The 4th base is low. Clem's going to try and stem on in. Now has the Widowmine production coming through as well. 4th base is on location. 2-2 is done. Reynor just going to go for a counterattack, but look at his positioning from Clem. This is such a good thing that Terrans do. You just have your units rally to your natural, because then you can stem them to the 3rd. If that's what the counterattack is, you're already ready to defend the natural. Now you are going to see a lot of SCVs go down here, but it should be an equivalent amount as to what Reynor lost. It's not going to ever be really any more than what Reynor has lost across the map, and Reynor lost his base. Meanwhile, Clem can just re-land that CC. Clem's taking a 60 supply lead. Decent baneling connections, but you still have more Marines here. As medevacs are just pushed forward. Not sure what that was. You know, they might be low on health, but they can rebuild their energy. They can be useful yet. Apparently Clem does not think so. The Terran Dominion has no need for low energy medevacs. Reynor, he's gonna try and go on in. One last stand. Does force the pickups. Forces Clem to get on out with that small army. You're just gonna have more. I mean, look at the bottom of the map. There's Clem moving with even more units. Now he's gonna have 2-2. Of course, they're gonna be even on upgrades, but usually the bio Marines will trade just a little bit better with 2-2 upgrades because it allows them to do so much more damage if they're split properly against the banelings. I mean, Clem's 50 supply in the lead. This is a great game from Clem. Able to snowball his leads. I mean, losing so many workers so early for Reynor to set him back so much. And look at the resources lost. It's almost 5K. 5K in the lead for Clem. This counterattack is a bit annoying. That one Widowmine, you know, a bit of a traitor, but it was for a good cause, as this base is also going to have to be forfeit. Reynor's not able to hold it. There's 2 armies on either side that are threatening, and this is just going to get worse and worse for the Italian Stallion. Clem showing why, you know, showing why he's still got it. Why his TVZ is so revered as the splits go back. The army isn't cleaned up, and that's, I mean, all the banelings. GG, Clem. Gonna hang on and take game number 3. And no offense to Reynor. Love Reynor. Just, you know, you gotta build it up a little bit. You gotta build up, you know, the storyline, make it intense. Make everybody really care about it. That's how you do it. That's showbiz, baby. Those SCVs were pulled a bit early. Not to nitpick here in the early opening builds, but just the small things that you sometimes notice when watching high-level players, especially, you know, when you're at this good of a level. Just the smallest things noticed, and or really the smallest things do matter. But something like pulling your SCVs a little bit early for that gas, really in the long run does not make a massive difference. We're getting a wonderful shot here of the magma fields and the gold minerals, the rich mineral patches that are being harvested from the planet. I don't actually know what the planet is called. The map is called Glittering Ashes. That's not the name of the planet, though. Is this? I forget the name of the planet in their campaign. There was a lava planet in the campaign, right? I assume that's what this texture pack comes from. Is that what this is? That the planet this is on? Is it that one? I don't remember the name. It's been so long since I played the campaign. Honestly, I should replay it. I should replay the campaign on Heroic. I should do that. Anyway, it is going to be the looks like, at least, going to be the fast 3rd CC opening here from Clem. We'll have the factory on the way, but no second gas indicates that it will in fact just be pretty much the same build that he's been doing every game aside from game number 2, where he did kind of get clapped trying to be cheesy. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Clem try and throw in something like a 2-on-1 if he does end up winning this game and we go to game 5. But even then, you know, maybe just go with what you're comfortable with. Ooh, nice block. He's managed to keep the Reaper off of the drone. All 4 Lings are going to stay alive. And Reynor gets up his 3rd, unperturbed, hides that drone away. Ooh, the commit in. Oh, Clem! That's it! Call it! He got the creep tumor. That's actually really massive. The reason why, I mean, the game's not over from it, but that's actually a really big deal because not only are you investing your queen's initial energy on the creep tumor, which allows you to build that bridge of creep to your third faster, it's just going to, you know, slow down your first inject because you're going to have to rebuild the creep tumor now. It actually matters quite a bit. And now you're going to see Reynor place it a bit farther back, but it just slows down the creep spread. And that's energy that Reynor could have used for a second tumor to just compound that. And that's the thing about StarCraft is any early damage that you take, any early mistakes that you make, they have a compounding effect throughout the game. If that first creep tumor went up, you would already have 2 to 3 on the map. They would be expanding to the third base. You know, that's the kind of effect that losing something like that can have. Now, it's not going to slow Reynor down a ton. Of course, he's just going to get right back on into it. These queens are just creep queens. They're not going to be used for injects. You don't have the money to actually use to spend on inject larva this early. You will, I imagine, see injects come down. You see there one in the main, but you'll start to see all 3 hatcheries being injected as soon as these 3 queens are out. But these first 3 queens are being used for creep, and they're just going to be used to spread the creep to try and get a good basis for this game and going. Now, Clem is going back to the Cloak Banshee. Has not been scouted. Reynor did not send an Overlord into the main as he has been in the previous games, which is a bit strange because, again, this is the timing where you usually will want to send that Overlord through, but instead Reynor just keeping it at the main. I imagine he does have a pretty good read on the situation. You know, Reynor probably knows, well, this is either going to be a Raven or a Cloak Banshee or a Viking. Either way, he can just prepare in the same way, which is at 430, getting up his Spore Crawlers, and he'll be perfectly safe. You also have Stim started, so again, it's going to be a bio follow-up. Clem, not really a mech player. You know, he's no Maru, where Maru has shown that he can sometimes slot in a mech game here or there and be a bit cheeky with it. Clem definitely just is a straight bio believer. He is, I was going to try and think of another prime like bio believer, but then my mind just kind of went blank, and you know, I was gonna go like, you know, the copium on the tropium, but that just doesn't work as Reynor is getting into his +1/1. I mean, this is going to be straight Ling Bane from Reynor. It has been pretty much every game aside from game 2. And Clem will, of course, be getting his 1/1 upgrades up at a fairly similar time. Reynor has a Spore Crawler forward to protect his creep tumors. Love that. It's just a nice little move to make sure that his queens can be out on the map while the Banshees are, and he doesn't have his layer up. It's just a nice move. It only costs 75 minerals, and it really does not hurt you at all to have that forward Spore Crawler as Reaper and the Hellions trying to poke around. Glittering Ashes, it's another map that has a lot of paths for you to kind of make your way into your opponent's base, but it's very easy to cover them with queens. And because the choke points are so small, as long as Reynor keeps track of where these Hellions are with the creep, it's going to be very hard for Clem to find an opening. As long as the queens are moved into position. I mean, at least 3 of them are moved into position. That's all it's going to really take. But you're going to be having this 1/1 upgrade synchrony from both players just because of the unit compositions that they are going for now. It looks like Clem is once again going to be going for this tank push. This is what he did last game, where you have a single tank and you use it with your +1/+1 with your stim to just get a slight pushing position, and then from there you'll slowly start to parade more units across the map. Now, he's also this game kept his Hellions alive. In the last game, he committed them in to get, you know, 24 worker kills. That hasn't been the case this game, so it is a much better economic situation for Reynor. Mind you, these aren't Hellbats. That armory is not done. This is just straight Hellions, which don't actually fight as well. This is the one situation where Hellbats would actually be a little bit nice, and I don't say that a lot, as all casters hate Hellbats. That is just a fact of the job. You can't like Hellbats. But the army will be finishing up, so we should have those morphs come through soon, just to allow them to be a little bit more tankier, get a bit more AoE onto the Zerglings. There we go, Hellbat morph's gonna come through. Banelings, they don't have centrifugal hooks just yet, so there is still a lot of micro ability from this army from Clem, but he's not really gonna commit in too hard. You just can't really afford to lose this, because if you do, that gives complete map control over to Reynor. as we're going to be seeing a Ling counterattack. Oh. Reynor committing on in is going to be able to get a pretty decent position. Should also be able to clean up the tank, but the Banshees are back. I don't imagine much more damage is going to come out of this. As there we go, pickups come on through. And no real issue here for Reynor to clean up these attacks. Clem right now trying to kind of maneuver around two positions and see if there's any openings in the defense, but Reynor holding strong, sitting, I mean, at 182 supply right now. And comfortably on Lingbane, has finally started to add on in these high duelists. Good hot pickup from Clem. Again, the biggest thing when you're pushing out with armies on either side of the map is that you have enough medevacs to pick up the Marines. You don't want to lose these units, because if you lose an army on either side of the map, that suddenly gives the Zerg complete priority to then push on that side of the map, to then go for a counterattack, because you no longer have that pressure there and those units are dead. That's just a straight loss for you. So, you know, even if it comes to just trading, usually, as soon as the trade goes even, as soon as, you know, the banelings are coming in and you can't really trade any more efficiently, you want to get on out, and here's an example of that, not doing that. Reynor knew that Clem wasn't looking, knew that he was focusing on the other side of the map, so he just moves that army forward, and just to get the cleanup. And now Reynor can really focus all of his defenses on the left side of this map. He knows that army on the right is cleaned up. There's no real danger there now. And so all of Reynor's attention will be on this left side. At the same time, he's moving that army on the right. He's going to be, you know, trying to go for a counterattack, trying to poke around with it. And this is exactly what happens when you just lose one small, you know, unit, you know, little group of units. Ooh, Clem manages to pick everything on up. The tank is going to be forfeit, and you do have a Widowmine drop, actually. Protecting to the other side. You can't really drop back down. It's a lot of Lingbane coming out from Reynor. I mean, again, Reynor hasn't lost any workers. What? That's the first worker kills that have gone down. This army for Reynor is actually massive. It's an 85 worker economy and a massive Lingbane force. It will not actually be able to get the planetary. 16 workers go down, but Clem's still sitting at a solid, you know, 66. Oh, committing on in. Clem's trying to force this. I mean, he has a lot of Widowmines. It is a lot of medevacs as well to support the Marines. A few Marauders going to push on forward. Again, Widowmines burrowing on down. They have the Drilling Claws to help them in these scenarios. This choke, it's so hard for the Zerg to actually commit on into this choke point, because if you do, that's when the Widowmine goes off. Now we have Banelings rolling on forward. Widowmine shot. Getting some great trades. The worry is, though, here for Clem, again, you haven't been able to do, I mean, real damage to the Zerg. You're still sitting with, I mean, Reynor at 93 workers. 5 bases, that 6th is getting attacked by the Banshees and will actually die. But Reynor's exactly in the position that he wants to be, where he's going to be able to get up into his lurkers. He's adding on Vipers, you know, getting burrow even for Banelings if he wants to try and set off Baneling landmines. But Clem is also maxed out. Clem is also adding on his own 5th. Has 3-3 on the way already when +1 range attacks has only just now started for Reynor. And that 3-3 can make all the difference. 3-3 bio trades so efficiently into Lingbane. And that, I mean, we saw it in TSL with Beyond versus Scarlet, what 3-3 bio can do, and that base is just gonna go down. There's nothing here to help deal with it. That is a massive snipe for Reynor, or for Clem. 2 bases go down. He can just fight these Lings. Widowmines get some great damage. This is, oh, Clem pushing 2 places at once, finding some incredible damage. Now Baneling's gonna try and roll on in. Split's going back, decently avoiding a lot of the damage from the Banelings, and now it's just Marines left that can stim on board, because the Banelings, they're gonna get focus fired. The 3-3 bio will eventually have to pick on up, or it's not even 3-3 yet, but the bio will eventually have to pick on up and get out of dodge. Clem still trying to micro on the right side, finally has to get on out. The focus fire, full medevac goes down. Reynor managing to hold on. Clem's going to continue to push this. 3-3 isn't done quite yet, so it's a bit dangerous to continue pushing right now. Still manages to avoid a lot of the Baneling damage. And now 10 seconds left. 3-3 almost done. Widowmine shots going to be dragged away. Reynor can't really commit it into that Sim City. And Reynor hasn't really been able to get across the map since that first attack that he did with the Ling Bane Ball that was unable to kill the Planetary Fortress at Clem's fourth. Got a bit of the hiccups. Clem's going to continue to push. Is now sitting at 3-3 bio. He's going to continue to try and do damage. I mean, Clem has lurkers out, is now actually just going to be looking for a counterattack, and this is absolutely the right call to make. You know you have lurkers, you know that you have that defensive unit. You're just going to commit across the map because you know that Clem can't try and kill you. And it's the right call to make. The Lings are going to be cleaned up at the third. No damage will happen there. The fifth base will be replaced. But Clem has to back on up. He's going to have to start to rebuild, and he's going into Ghosts once again with the Widowmine production. I would love to see Clem kind of take a note from Maru here. Add on a third factory and even go up to, you know, even just double tank production, but triple or double tank production. Oh, lurkers might get caught out here. Widowmine's burrow. Oh, the Widowmine shuts the lurker splits. Oh, that's you never seen it, but the lurker splits there from Reynor manages to avoid the lurkers from taking serious splash damage. But it's continued Ghost production. You see all over the map, you know, you had those burrowed Banelings. That's, you know, Reynor really kind of embracing this late game and realizing where his advantages are. Army getting chased down, focus fire, very well done by Clem. To now really take a fight here. But Vipers are out. Those are the real next big dangers, these Widowmines. Oh my god, these Widowmines. Snipe's also gonna go down. Clem is doing such a good job pushing two places at once. I mean, the crazy part is that this is the point of the game where usually you'll see Terrans turtle up. This is where you'll see Maru turtle up. You know, maybe he'll push out with an army here or there, but he's just gonna stay back in his base, you know, macro up, and really just make sure that he's in a good spot. No, Clem's continuing to push. Clem's continuing to make sure that Reynor is not comfortable. These Widowmine hits are still going off. Snipes do get canceled by the burrow. Adaptive talent's not done quite yet, so you don't have the speed burrow. Oh, never mind, you do. I was gonna say, no, that's a bit of a fast burrow, and it is there as the surround comes on in. Clem, you're gonna have to pick on up. There we go, Medevac's loading. They're gonna drop back onto the other side of the rocks, of the debris. But it's more lurkers on the way. We're already sitting at 12 lurkers, and now here come the lurker run-bys. I think Clem, though, is already in position. Look at this. Widowmines are already here. Ghosts are already here. Snipes go down. This is exactly how Clem is supposed to handle this late game. Still is continuing just on two factories, and again, that's my one worry, is that Clem is not really getting additional things to fight aside from bio. He's focusing just on this bio army, and those Baneling hits were pretty massive. Snipes are going to go down. The Widowmine drag, though, on to the Medevacs. Parasitic Bomb doesn't get it. Only gets one Medevac. Clem losing a lot of ghosts. Will manage to get out with a majority of his army, though. Eleven SCVs do end up going down to the Lurker Harass as it's 3-3 on the way for Reynor. Missile attacks and ground attacks and melee. So the Ling Bane, it's going to be pretty strong. The Lurkers, they're going to one-shot things. +3 attack Lurkers, and with +3 armor as well. They are tanky, and they do a lot of damage. And so once that upgrade comes through Reynor, it's going to be, I mean, this is really where Reynor can start to push. Again, he's sitting at a pretty large lurker count. You know, 8 would probably like to be higher. A lot of Zergs I see, you know, usually will go up to 12 to 14 lurkers, but Reynor's actually been sitting on a really heavy Ling Bane count. That's kind of been his adaptation and kind of the way that he's been playing this style, which has been really interesting to see, because if he did go into a heavier lurker count, you know, the amount of the style that Clem is going for would definitely still, would actually, I think, almost be better. Where Clem is just going pretty much for Ghost Widowmine. And so it's hard for the Lurkers to push into the Widowmines. You have to be so careful with your pushes. The Ghosts would take down the Lurkers. But because it's Ling Bane, he's able to drag the Widowmane shots. He's able to be across the map. He's able to be extremely mobile. And he's still keeping this just extremely high Ling Bane count. Finally, we're going to see 8 more Lurkers morphed on in, 11 Banelings. Clem, his army, it's large, but a lot of that supply is in the 20 Ghosts and 16 Widow Mines. That's now 34 supply in Widow Mines and 40 supply, army supply, in those Ghosts. 70 of Clem's 100 army supply is in Ghost Widow Mine. There's not a lot of additional buffers for this army as these Baneling Widow Mines. Oh, these Baneling Mines. I call them Baneling Widow Mines. No, that's not what they are. But Reynor is going to be trying to push this position here on the other side of the map. Now, you're seeing Clem's bank is starting to get a bit low, even sitting on 6 bases. Having to constantly replenish his army. He hasn't been on his high of a worker count as Reynor for the period of time that Reynor has been. And we're going to see a Ghost and a few Marines sacrificed to the Zerg gods as the medevacs try and get on out. Of course, one parasitic bomb there could have absolutely ruined Clem's day. The Viper was too far away. Its little Viper arms could not reach the medevac to cast out its spell. Ooh, Snipe's gonna go down. Immediately a kill onto a Lurker. A great Widow Mine hit there. More Widow Mines burrowing up. The Wine Drags, though, are absolutely glorious. And that's the majority of Clem's supply is now just completely useless as the Widow Mines have no more shots. Banelings are gonna roll on through. Clem losing a lot of bio here. The Ghosts are gonna try and come clean on this up on the other flank. He's kiting back another Widow Mine shot. Those Banelings are gonna have to back on up, but the 5th base has gone down. Lurkers will start to fall as the Ghosts move forward, but they're just taking so much damage. It's 3-3 Lurkers. They do so much. Oh, the Banelings? Ah, no! Oh, Reynor did it. That was so close. So close. But Reynor's taking a 30 supply lead. His bank is massive. Sitting right now at 7 bases, looking to add on an 8th and a 9th, continuing with this Lurker harass. He's just been able to take good trades. That's really been it. I mean, sure, he's lost 7k more mineral resources, but mind you, he hasn't lost workers. He hasn't really, lost bases aside from once. He's killed 57 SCVs. He's lost 13 drones. It's been an absolute, Reynor, he just hasn't been worried. Oh, the Baneling connections! Oh! That's it. That's it. I don't think Clem can come back. I mean, these Widow Mines are going to be annoying, and these hits are actually really good. Now, 45 workers. He loses the majority of his army. The Ghost count is now reset down to 4. All of Clem's supply is Widow Mines. It's 42 army supply in Widow Mines. And again, I just feel like tanks are so much better for dealing with these run-bys, with dealing with this harassment. If you just add on a few tanks, you don't have to cut out Widow Mines entirely. But adding them in, I mean, that's why we see Maru do it. That's why we see him turtle up and just look to trade extremely efficiently. It's because you just can't keep being this aggressive with just bio Widow Mine. It does not work out in the long run. And now Reynor, I mean, he's sitting 60 supply in the lead. Widow Mine shots are being used up, and, well, that's 4 of the 84 army supply. Just not really gonna be useful now. As snipes go down, but here comes Reynor. You immediately have to pick on up. Workers are gonna fall. The 5th is no longer useful. Reynor, 20 grueling minutes of late game ZVT. And he is gonna come out on top. It's gonna be the 3-1. Clem absolutely tried to micro his heart out. But sometimes, micro isn't all that you need. The bases are getting ravaged. Lurkers decimating the mineral lines. SCVs getting ripped out of their mining suits. Thrown onto the ground by the Zerglings. It is a nightmare at the Terran base. The Dominion, on glittering ashes at the very least, seems to have fallen for this game. And with it, will Clem's Empire and his chances of moving on in the Pig Fest. As it's 31 workers to 79, Reynor has the entire map almost as he's continuing to expand. Just adding on more and more bases, sitting at 79 workers. Currently sitting at 9 hatcheries. Just a casual 9 hatcheries, you know. As you do. Snipes are going to go down. Clem is, of course, going to try and fight this game out, but he just hasn't done enough damage to the Zerg behind this to really, I mean, make up for it. And sure, Reynor hasn't been trading efficiently army-wise, but he doesn't need to because he's had such a strong economy, because he's had most of the map under his control, because, you know, Clem hasn't been able to get across the map and do serious economic damage. Let me, again, look at the units lost. 25 workers the entire game. That gives you the ability to do whatever you want. 62 supply, GG. Reynor takes it.